pushing slightly down, which makes my bike lean in more and my body up more. So it's not necessarily that you want that to happen, but if you have to do anything, that's the best.
What about the other way when you're in the drops?
When you're in the drops, I feel like it pretty much takes care of itself.
Okay.
You'll definitely be pushing against this arm because you'll have to do that to kind of keep the bike out in front of you. If you stop pedaling and relax this arm, you wind up just getting lifted forward, and your rear wheel usually skips off the ground. And it pops down like that.
Okay.
Or worse.
Yeah. So how'd that go for you
Nobody
guys?
ever
Anything come
crashes.
up? Any questions?
You got this kind of grip on the bar typically, as opposed to
The handoff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
One thing that I saw, I mentioned that the exchange is a lot in the wrist. One thing that I saw, I think I misspoke. You definitely still want your hands to make contact. So ideally you have the pad against the pad. What I meant by the wrist is that if you hit your arm like this, you'll slide down and make contact like this. And if worse comes to worse, you'll at least get wrist on wrist. But this isn't a very ideal way to do it because you can't really, once you start straightening out, you just lose contact if you're pushing all the way back, right? So you definitely want to get your hands pushing like this by the end. Right, palms. But it's not in the fingers at all. I still think fingers open is better than shut because it's a little bit of a safety net if you miss. But if you find that you're grabbing a hand like this, that's really like last resort. Like you're gonna lose the race if you miss that exchange, throwing the partner in. So no questions?
I got a question.
Oh, sorry.
Alan. I was gonna say, what are some of the ways that you remember to keep your bike leaning out and your upper body leaning in?
One thing I do is put my hand a little bit to the side like this to avoid from pulling. And when you do that, it makes it really comfortable to push down. And of course, if I'm pushing my bike away, then I can't help counterbalance by leaning in. Otherwise, that's like every throw, like in the race, every throw is a little bit different, and none of them ever really feel perfect. So whatever happened the last time, I'm thinking going in the next time, all right, this time lean in more, or this time hold at the waist more, and always kind of modifying based on what comes up. So if I notice all of a sudden that I start leaning out, then that's what I'll start thinking about until it becomes natural. Another thing I've thought about is trying to touch my partner's shoulder with my shoulder during the exchange. So leaning in enough that right as he's passing, our upper arms will brush. But whatever works, just as long as
He is taller too than some people,
yeah,
which does help.
Yeah, we'll try to point it out if it looks like we're not doing
Do you always, if you're the incoming rider, do you always have your hand in the drop as opposed to on
it. Yep,
top?
always. Yeah. And what I'll do a lot of times when I'm dropping in is I'll leave my other hand up here. If you cut down really fast on a steep track, you're for sure going to want to have your hands in the drops because it feels like you're going to slide out because you almost sometimes cut straight down track and then really cut hard on the red. So it's going to feel a lot better to come down like that. If you're coming down gradually, I might come down with my hand up here just because it's more comfortable to turn around and look over my shoulder like that. But for the most part, you'll probably drop in like this because particularly at Marymore, you're going to have to sprint a little bit to get up to speed. And you're not going to sprint like up here. Brad?
You got it.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get on the track and start speeding up a little bit, doing actual exchanges. So we're still gonna stay apart. I don't really want to add in the going over exchanges bit yet. So just create some space for yourself. And one thing, it looked like a lot of you had already started to release. Just make sure that when you're doing these exchanges, keep in mind that as the person who's throwing in, you're still only coming to your hip and stabilizing. There's not an intentional pushing forward. What you'll find probably that after your partner pushes off, your arm will naturally come forward because it's all of a sudden there's no resistance there. But don't think grab and pull. It's really much more grab and just come here and ride as hard as you can, pedal as hard as you can. So the way to do this is going to be usually just do like 3 exchanges. You'll start with your partner up high. The partner who's riding is going to stay in the lane the whole time. So Dan and I will just do 1 lap to demonstrate how to do it. But basically, Dan's gonna go up ahead. He'll start in the lane. I'll just kind of do a slow seated sprint down in the lane. When he sees that it's about time that I'm coming up, he'll drop down, put his arm out. We'll do an exchange. He's gonna go shooting off. As soon as he releases, he'll like if you can try the chop down, but as soon as you release and get the chop down, go straight back up track and slow down. Then I'll slowly build speed again. Do that 3 times. It's pretty tiring being the person throwing because you keep having to reaccelerate. So after the 3rd throw, switch and start going. Try to keep spaced out. It looked okay on the apron, but we'll see how it goes on the track.
And again, for the exchanges, really focus on holding that connection. The thrower, holding it right by your waist. A lot of people kind of just were antsy and just wanted to throw someone and kind of lost that feeling of connection. So really over-exaggerate, holding the person for a while, pulling him along, and then allowing the relief rider to push himself off. Because if you just do the quick exchange, you're gonna go back in that tendency of just pushing the person off and not being a platform. So again, the thrower, just consider yourself a platform for the relief rider to push off against.
And when you guys are being the rider throwing the other guy in, whereabouts, like, are you right on your hip, or where do you get the most strength? Like right at your hip bone?
Again, as you speed up, you're going to wind up stretching out.
Yeah, it's going to pull you back.
In your head, your hand's at your hip. It's actually back here, and you're twisted all the way around.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen at speeds. But for now, just focus on locking right here.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do basically is grab the hand, pull it in, right? So that'll keep you from getting out like this. Or a couple of you who weren't leaning in enough, you're starting to open up a little bit. That puts a ton of stress on your shoulder, and it's really inefficient. So really focus on just pulling in and holding it here, and probably right as you grab, your arm will get sucked back a little bit, and that's when you'll kind of pull
so
up.
you kind of have that second to, or not second even,
right.
but like that moment to
there
pull
has
it
to be some
to you.
flexibility, you know?
Yeah.
Because if there's a 10-mile-an-hour difference and you just grab the person's hand, then you're just gonna suck them off their bike. So if that's what happens if your partner comes in too slow. I'll just grab really, really early and start pulling really early, and then have to stretch way out. And because when there's that much of a speed difference, if it's just rigid, your hands are just gonna slip. You just can't hold on to it, or one of you will fall. So.
Not that we're going to go on that one.
Yeah, we're not going to do that tonight. So just keep an eye on it. We'll just show you how to do the different rotations.
What's your last name? I'm just bad with names, so I'm trying to remember.
Then he moves up. We're just practicing the exchange part, not You're okay.